Yeah. We're live. Why not?
Or do you have an extra pen? You just brought it, so-
Go get one.
Oh, I can just get it.
Yeah, just. And you need, I'll give you a good one.
You got some bad ones out there?
No, some of the cheaper ones don't work all that great sometimes.
Caterpillar over here. On the floor. It's not moving though, so.
Yes, it was been there all day.
Oh, has it?
Yeah,
Same spot?
yeah.
I assume he's dead then.
My clock says 6 o'clock, so I will call this regular meeting in Selectboard order. And if you could please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Before we do this, we are going to do this.
We have to do it every year. The ordinances?
No,
Oh,
the ordinance, the appendix 8.
then we need to adopt them for October 1st.
Okay, for some reason I thought we had done that.
This time flies, Joe.
I know. Okay, so this is a public hearing for the adoption of the 2023 through 2024 General Assistance Ordinance Appendixes A through H. And the new ordinance is effective 1 October and runs through 30 September 2024. And as Terry said, it's an annual requirement. So this hearing is for anybody who would like to speak for this adoption. Anybody who would like to speak against this adoption? Anybody willing to speak neither for nor against this adoption? Hearing none, I will call the public hearing to close. And we'll start into our regular agenda items. So I think though, before we do that, we probably ought to.
I'll make a motion, we adopt the general assistance order and the company appendices for effective date of October 1st. September 30th, 2024.
I'll second that.
Okay, I do have. Go ahead. You did post this way back
Yep,
in September.
Yep.
And no comments, no inquiries, no.
we never do.
Yeah, that's
Okay, I just wanted to.
Yes, no, we did.
Okay, any further comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
3-0. It's adopted. Okay, adjustments to the agenda. I think we have a few. I think the first one is Cliff Dasco sent us a letter. We'd like to address that under new business. I'd like to do that right after. Like we do the catering. We got a letter from DMR asking us to waive a portion of our policy on this room. I'd like to do that as E on the back side. The last thing we have, actually, the last item on the agenda on the back.
I got an email when I forwarded you folks from.
I think that's on here.
No.
I think we did.
Back.
Yeah.
It's not on the agenda.
Oh, okay.
And I told her that I would ask to adjust the agenda to, so we could consider the request in that letter. So I'm requesting that. No, I came in, I think,
After the fact,
after.
yeah.
So that's letter from. Okay, so that's the letter from Lynn. So we'll do that right after Cliff.
That's why I was saying. You think
And then I'd also like to add a discussion item just before DMR and the abatements, to discuss some of the ordinance changes that are being proposed, just to get a feel for the select board's feelings on it as Kristen is getting ready to write out the changes.
You're talking about the land use.
That's correct. And then finally, I'd like to add an executive session to discuss a personal matter at the end of everything, after we're done with
Very end.
the very end, right after we schedule future.
But before we adjourn,
But we And I think that's it.
Yeah,
Yes, ma'am.
I be added just under new business somewhere for just a couple of small items concerning the library.
Sure. Up right after the Halloween. And we got, that's what's the agenda, I think that's quite a bit. We thought this would be a short, quick, easy. And just added a bazillion things, so. So public comment for items not on the agenda that have anything to do with the town. Any other, no inputs?
I'd like to make a comment, though. I do think in light of that article, that I don't know if everybody read it, in Swanton Press Herald. I do think the idea of putting that item last is a good idea. And actually, I think it's a good idea for a couple of reasons. One is, where it is now, people who don't bother to get on the agenda get to come in and go first.
Right.
And secondly, I do think it does discourage people from zooming in and, you know, launching a racist or whatever attack or whatever, inappropriate, I guess would be my word for it, but it's happening in small towns. And the thought was from some of the towns that if you put it last, number one, because people tend to leave the meetings, they tend to lose their audience, so it's not as effective. And number two, they gotta sit and wait 2 hours. So
Might
I
work
would-
down a little.
yeah, so I would suggest that we, as a simple matter to. And maybe we need to think this further, but for now, at least, make that adjustment to the agenda and have that last for both those reasons, actually, so. If that's.
I think that's a good idea. Yeah. Okay, review prior meeting minutes, I think we have.
I make a motion, we approve the meeting minutes of September 12th.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion, additions, edits? All those in favor? Passes. Okay, update, old business update on land purchases.
Well, I'll be very brief. I think really 3 things I want to cover. One is, I think everybody knows we have closed on the Smith property. Don't recall the date now, a couple of weeks ago. So we own that, and previously we had closed on the Klein properties. We now own that. So the other 2 things I'd like to say is, if you recall, the Smith property came with a condition that ATVs not be allowed on his property. The Klein property did not come with that condition, although I think that's the Conservation Commission's desire. I would propose that at maybe the next agenda, that we put an agenda item on to begin to have a discussion how we're gonna enforce this or deal with this, because I think it's gonna be a challenge. And do we want to propose putting a similar condition onto some of the town property that's way up back? I don't know, but I'd like to have a conversation about that, not tonight, but. And then the third thing is, if you both are agreeable, again, I know the Conservation Commission is working on land for Maine Futures grants to perhaps help offset some of the costs of this, as well as maybe a couple of other sources, but I also think we should do a local solicitation. And before this gets too stale, I'd be willing to maybe get with Sonia and draft something that could go out on the listserv just to see if anybody's interested in donating towards this to help offset some of the costs. I think we promised the town at town meeting that we would do that. And so if there's no objection on it, I'd be willing to volunteer to do that. And then we can pass it by you guys, but something brief.
Yeah.
But okay, so that's all I have unless someone has questions. Everything is recorded. We got correct, Terry.
Yes,
We got the recorded deeds back, and
Yep.
And we do need to deal with an abatement on the Smith taxes later on in the agenda. So
All right, so new business. We have an application for the back shop and 111 Main Catering. Ian Talmadge. For a catering event, looks like a wedding at Saltwater Fields. The date is 30th.
Wow.
Wow, no quick.
Yeah.
So, Ian, are you here?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Yeah. Any questions that you might have about the permit?
The only thing I've got, it does look like you are gonna extend it to the outside.
Yes, and actually, just received some documentation from the planner that there's actually going to be a tent. So in that area where it says cocktailing area, that's essentially there'd be a tent there. So that would be the only adjustment from that diagram. The venue is so new, it was really actually I had to kind of draw in the location on the map because Google doesn't yet show it up. So.
So I have two questions. One is, did Terry explain to you our process here in South Thomaston? Where first time applicant has to come here, but after that, she has the authority to approve these, assuming there's no issue.
Oh, okay. No, I wasn't. I only received the email. We corresponded by email, and then she said, you know, to attend, or if I was able to attend, and I said I would attend this meeting.
I just want to let you know, so that if you have a second application in town, you don't need to come to the select board. You can, assuming we haven't had any issues, Terry can handle it. So
Okay.
So my second question is, can you just I assume you're experienced in alcohol rules and regulations and controls and
Yeah. We're liquor licensed. We've been catering for 16 years.
Okay.
And we're quite familiar with, you know, the insurance of ensuring a safe event, making sure that everyone is aware, you know, our bar staff, I will be on site, our executive chef will be on site, and we make sure that, you know, monitor alcohol consumption and look for a safe, enjoyable event.
okay, so it's not your first rodeo.
Nope, 16, maybe almost 18 years. It's a debate between my wife and I. She's the executive chef, and I oversee these types of things, the logistics.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
That's all I've got.
No, sounds good to me.
Entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion. We approve the application of the bake shop and 111 Main Catering for an event on what was it, 9:30 from 4:45 p.m. to 10 p.m. at Saltwater Fields Wedding and Event Bar.
I will second that.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Have a
Thank
good
you.
one.
Have a good night.
email it to you in the morning, Ian.
Okay, that'd be great. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful evening.
Hey, Cliff, you're up, sir.
Okay, thanks very much. I'm coming here to talk about a availability of some grant funding from the Maine CDC. They have a limited amount of money to award to a not-for-profit or a town within each health district, each public health district, to help communities. It was originally COVID money, and it was unspent. This is actually, I think, revenue off the COVID money that they feel a little guilty sitting on, and they're trying to disperse it. It has some strictures. It's really pretty much for fixed equipment. It can't be used for programs. And it can enhance capacity. You can build emergency stuff. You can buy PPE. What I would like to propose, and I've discussed this with Drexel White, who's the public health district director. I would like to propose a project for the town where we set up publicly available AEDs, automatic external defibrillators. These are the type, in case you haven't seen them, they're self-contained units, and they talk. We can talk you through it. They have they're they're sensitive to heat and cold. So if you want to put them outside, they have to be in a climate controlled box. So that's an additional expense. It's unclear really how much, I've got a number of different quotes. The box is probably more expensive than the AED. Box costs about $1,000. And the device itself, depending on which one you get, how many bells and whistles, it's somewhere between $700 and $1,000 each. So I would propose to put them in public spaces where people gather. Saltwater farms near there, for example, down at the marsh, at the landing, down at Atwoods, or McLuhan's in that area on Spruce Head Island. Outside at the Butler Center. So these are available 24 hours a day. There are AEDs, I think there's one here, there's a certain one on the ambulance, but they're not available 24 hours a day. And this would be available 24 hours a day. You open the door, an alarm goes off. It makes a lot of lights and noise and whatnot, so it's not, so if somebody wants to vandalize it, they're gonna have to be serious about it. Typically, by the way, the data on nationwide, these don't get vandalized. And then I'm thinking something on the order of 7 or 8 of them. So a project, including the installation, maintenance, everything else, a project of about $15,000. There's $71,000 available per unit, per public health unit. I talked to Drexel to be sure that this is eligible. He did not determine that yet. He's run that through the great authorities in Augusta, but I haven't heard back yet. But it would also, and I also said, well, we wouldn't use all the money, so would there be more money available for other projects? So I asked for permission, if Drexel says that this is a legitimate use, to apply for that project. And I also bring it up to the select board if there's other projects along that sort of public health type thing that they think may be better or more pressing for the town. I'm willing to write the application. This just came out last week, and it's it's even shorter fuse than the shotgun wedding application. It's due in about 2 weeks. And I'm happy to write it. It's just we have to make some kind of decision.
Yeah, I'm strongly in favor of it, and I think this is right up the alley of the full intent of the health officer for the town's job is. So I think it's perfect. Exactly what I expect.
It's a great idea. All for it.
I support it, but I have some, I did worry about vandalism, and I still do. And I also, in my past experience, as a manager, there's this kind of strange legal theory that if you put something out like this and it doesn't work, you've actually opened yourself up to the liability that you wouldn't have had if you didn't put it out there. So we have to have a plan and a strategy to make sure that if we do something like this, they work, because people all of a sudden have an expectation that it's gonna work, and if it doesn't, you kind of put yourself potentially in a problem. So that's a concern I have. And then how do you envision heating them?
These boxes, I'm not too sure how they work.
I mean, are they solar or
I
something?
think they're solar, but they maintain a temperature inside the box above 5 degrees centigrade, as low as 20 below centigrade. So that's 20 below 0 is about 5 below 0, right? So.
And I guess if we have a limited number, I would prefer personally to see us put them where they're more visible. There's more people around that are kind of stewards of it, maybe like you say, down around the co-op or someone, and maybe someone can half keep an eye on it.
Yeah.
Or outside of Gilman Butler, or
I think there should be one down at the landing, because for a couple of reasons. One is when there are accidents out on the island and the tide is right, they bring people in here.
I or maybe maybe the gig would cooperate with you,
Yeah,
but you know what I mean?
No, sure.
I don't know, I mean, instead of over on the landing side, because, but I don't know. But those are, I mean, I'm not trying to micromanage it, but
no,
I do have
those
some.
are all good points, John.
Um,
A couple of things. One is there's data on the success of community AEDs. And I can supply the papers for you if you like.
No, that's fine. I
Uh,
got enough to read.
But they're almost uniformly in support, saying that they in fact do save lives. One of the, in conjunction with this, we're tentatively planning for December 2nd to have a community event with the Butler Center associated with the radon testing that I've talked about before. And I'd like to, I'm working with the indoor air quality people. They're going to come by and do a presentation. And I'd like to have a session on AED use for people if they want to come and attend it. And maybe if we can arrange it at BCLS class, basic cardiac life support class. If we can arrange it, doing it all during that time. There's again, data and papers that are published that says that in the community where there's a large number of people who are educated in CPR, people's lives get saved. And so it's a good thing to have a high degree of awareness community of how to do basic CPR.
Yeah,
and
that
lastly-
appeals to me more than this actually.
Yeah, they won't pay for that. That's trivial.
Yeah.
Trivial amount of money. In terms of the maintenance, I will, these things have to have batteries and pads changed every 2 years. And I'll just be responsible for that. That's not a big deal. But we'll try to get enough funds so that it will cover the maintenance of it for years to come.
The only,
Sorry? They have a long time. They go for a long time. They change the batteries, the pads, they go for a long time. They do get outmoded. There's new technology. But they're certainly good enough or long enough.
I mean. Again, I'm not trying to be discouraged. I'm trying to be realistic though. I mean, we've struggled sometimes. I think Terry can tell you, like with keeping fire extinguishers inspections up to date and so, you know, and everybody says, oh, that's easy. I just got to do it. And the next thing you know, the guy comes down and, oh, these chicks haven't been inspected. So it's I'm not saying that you would fall down on the job, but
Yeah.
you know, the fog of time sometimes gets in the way, but.
Well, apropos of fire extinguishers, fire department checks everyone in this building every month.
Yeah, but the one at the stumped up shed. You know,
Yeah, well,
I mean,
there is
it
that.
always happens, so, but with that, I would support it in concept, I think. With those concerns, right, so you're making a motion to authorize it. Sure, make application.
No.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll let you know, I'm sure there's gonna be competition. So.
Keep the idea coming.
Ideas are cheap.
Yeah. Linda. You have a proposal.
Well, I was at the Rockford store last week and I have to buy 9 books for $20. And whenever family and friends visit from Canada or wherever, it's always a spot that we have to take people to and doing this for years. And Janine Heath, who's the owner, explained to me, and I never knew this, but that she owns the business, but she doesn't own the land. And it's a relative that wants to sell it now. And so she's trying to raise via a GoFundMe fund money, you know, to buy the land from the relative. So I wasn't really, you know, wanting to use the listserv to blatantly solicit money, but just maybe to use it, as I indicated, to make people aware, the residents aware, that this is an iconic women-owned coastal business that's been around for 60 years, and I think that we should do whatever we can to help it survive.
I kind of agree with John. It is a very slippery slope once you start down. I don't mind doing the advertisement in this forum. From the public to at the meetings to everybody, which you just did. I don't know, does she have a specific GoFundMe?
Yes.
She does. It is.
Yeah,
Do we know what it
you
is?
can look it up, the Lobster Lane Bookshop.
Lobster Lane
Yeah,
Bookshop.
even if you don't have the exact address, you just.
Yeah, I just-
Fund me and then Lobster Lane.
Yeah,
You will find it.
Yeah, so that, I'm saying that for anybody, on this, because I'm not in favor of putting on our list, or even a veiled
Not the
support to a
link.
public business like that.
Yeah, can you suggest any other, I mean, I have other ideas, any other ideas like local press, media, but I'm wondering if there are any other ideas that you want to suggest.
Someone could draw up a press release and maybe the Courier or the Penn Pilot, some would publish it. I mean, sometimes they do, sometimes they don't.
And most of the places that we post stuff will let you post stuff. A gig store, and even if you're.
I've done that, I made a flyer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just to give you a little bit of, I mean, I've actually struggled with this for years, and to the point where I even hesitate letting the Historical Society use our listserv. I think that's the one exception we make.
Right.
And they're technically not part of the town, and it's really because, just to reiterate, it's because where do you stop? You know, the next thing you know, I don't know, some nonprofit group, and these are nonprofits, some nonprofit group comes in and they want to use the listserv to solicit or announce an event, and then somebody's opposed to the goals of that nonprofit, and it just, it's a slippery slope, and I think we need to stay on.
I understand.
Okay.
So our action on this today was to put it out to the public.
Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you very much. Okay, discussion on the proposed offer to hold a Halloween children's event with proceeds going to the town fuel fund. This is from Martina Hendricks.
So, as I read this, the only question in front of us is, do we want to accept money that she may or may not raise from this?
right,
We don't need to get
have to ask
involved in-
permission to
right,
do it, yeah.
Yeah. And we have had a heating fund with $800 in it, or $300.
Oh, yeah, it's three something.
For about as long as I can remember, and we've never spent that.
But we've never actively
I know.
put it out
I understand that,
there.
I understand that, and part of the problem is,
Yeah,
because if someone comes in and they need heat assistance. And we give them GA, we can get 50% of it back from the state. If we give them this money, we can't get anything back from the state or the other heating. The money that's already in there, so. And plus, there's already 2 or 3 heating assistance avenues that people can chase. I mean, I'm not opposed to it, I just feel like we're gonna take it in and it's gonna sit there like that. Having said that, Terry said she thinks that some people that may fall through the cracks that don't qualify for GA, but really could use the money, but how do we pick and choose those people?
It's really hard, and when families sometimes, or people come out and say this family needs help or that family needs help, sometimes you find out that there are multiple people, people that have helped them, and then there are still people who don't have any help.
Right,
So it's a difficult thing, but
I mean, having said that, I'm willing to accept it,
Yeah.
I just fear we're not gonna spend it.
well, everything has gone up so much, it seems like there might be more people in need this winter, but
And I don't want it to be a substitute for people who come in and having administered GA meetings, I know they're complicated. And people need to turn over private information that oftentimes they don't like to, perhaps. But I don't want it to be, well, because I don't want to bother to fill out this application, I can access this. I mean, I just don't feel that's right either, you know.
would we have some application they would have to fill out to do it,
I
or
think we would have,
some process?
we've never done anything with the money that, what was his name, John?
I don't-
We're on 131, he used to cut the wood in his front yard.
Elliot.
Elliot. He made that donation. He actually wanted to donate the wood and nobody wanted the wood, and so we sold the wood and that's where the money came from. But God, it's been years and still sits there every year.
Yeah,
So I don't know. I don't have strong feelings one way or the other.
Yeah, that's, so the bottom line is, she wants to have her event and donate those monies to the town.
I just don't want her to think that we have this crying need for
Right.
it and. And then if she learns 2 years from now, we haven't spent it, then she's upset about it.
Do you think that there would be something else that would be better for her to donate it?
Well, maybe she could just do it personally. You know, town out of it, you know? Somebody comes in, you can say. If she's willing, contact Tina Hendricks, she might be able to help you. And then all that public stuff gets stripped away. I don't know. Terry, you look like you're ready to say something.
no, I have mixed feelings on the whole thing. I know it'll be a nightmare to administer. But I really do think we do have people that fall through the cracks. But on the other hand, we have people who, like you said, just don't want to be bothered with the GA application because usually they come get it and never come back.
We have had GA people come in, I mean, there's no question about it.
Oh, yeah, they come in. There's
No, but I
like-
mean, we have had some who have actually filled it out and gotten GA, I mean, it's not like.
We
it never
have,
happened.
we have very few that
Yes,
come
we do.
back,
We have
maybe,
very few.
maybe.
Yeah, very
one a year.
Do you feel that the application is too complicated, or they just don't want to give out the information that they're asking for?
They don't want to give out the information. I think in some cases it's because once you look at their bank account and you.
They don't really.
Yeah, they don't really qualify.
qualified, yeah.
Okay, so.
Well, I'll make a motion, we accept it. But I would like to, but I'd like to discuss that after we do someone seconds.
I'll second that.
I would more than willing to approve it, but I would ask that Terry have a conversation with her and sort of relay just what we discussed now. And perhaps perhaps a church or something might be a better, or a couple of churches, or
Yeah,
the food pantry,
yeah,
you know.
that's a good idea.
Because I know you can donate, I believe, to the AIO and designate the money strictly for South Council residents.
And they also have people assistance there.
Yeah, I know they.
Yeah. Yeah,
I know a couple, well, when I was here before, a couple Christmases, we adopted a family at Christmas. And we got that information to the schools. We asked the schools who needed help at Christmas for their families, and, we did food and presents, but, the schools might also know, but like Sue said, it's gonna get out there that, oh, this person needs help, and they're gonna get all kinds of help, and then someone
Yeah.
else doesn't. I think the church is a good idea.
yeah, I do too. I didn't think of it, but I think it's a good idea.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, I'll vote for it.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye.
Any library?
3 quick things. I wanted to let you know that the tree service came, trimmed up the dead limbs left on the tree in front of Guilford Butler, and ground up all the rest of them and took them away. Because he saw it going by, and that was from the hurricane. And we are very grateful who did that.
Who did it?
Then,
You did, you volunteered, I mean, you did it.
yeah, I just heard a noise and I went out there and he was grinding branches and
That's great.
we had one large limb
Yeah,
that didn't fall,
Yeah.
that he did take down and take care of also, which is great.
I was gonna come down and not get the ones up in the air, but the ones on the ground, and the next thing I knew it was gone.
Well, actually, Mark Euclid stopped and cut the stuff
Oh,
on the
okay.
ground all
Yeah.
up for us. We were waiting for the stump dump to be
Yeah.
open to get rid of it. But he chipped it, so it was,
Oh, it didn't break my heart.
no, so
So it didn't break
we're
your
grateful to both Benner and Mark Euclid. That was great. The second thing is I had an offer from the Coastal Maine Regional Broadband. What's their name, not a coalition or anything, and there is a funding agreement where they will give us $2,000 to use in 3 ways. It can increase capacity of the IT staff, which we don't have one, and a stipend for new IT partners, we don't need one. And the third thing is to upgrade public access IT by purchase or replacement of devices for public use, such as desktop computers, laptops, tablets, ebooks, hotspots. That we can use laptops and desktops for public use. So I would like to enter into this partnership with Coastal Maine Regional Broadband. I don't know if that qualifies as a grant or if it requires your approval, but I thought I'd better bring it before you because it's $2,000 that we would be spending.
to join with.
That they would give us.
Oh, they would.
that.
Okay.
Oh,
So
yeah.
there's no cost to join.
Nope.
to Partner with them.
And there's no match or anything, just one. Well, in case you do need it, I'll make a motion, we approve it.
Oh,
If you don't need it, it doesn't
I would
matter.
second that.
It's offered to every small library in the state, so
Oh,
I
that's
guess
great.
under 10,000, towns under 10,000.
Any further discussion? Is it, this isn't in any way related to any of the other broadband issues. It's not gonna complicate our life. Because we haven't made an agreement with anybody.
No, I don't think so. I mean, we never joined, and I don't even know what's going on. Walter's gonna look into that and get back to us, but that was a while ago.
My thoughts on that is that's kind of fizzled out, what everything the state's doing. And Fidium
Kind of,
and the county pulling the rug.
yeah, I don't know, but
Okay, all those in favor?
I,
I can't imagine it would.
Thank you. And the last thing is I wanted to have Terry send out to the lister an item about upcoming events at the Library Community Center. One of them being the Lions Eye Screening that will happen Saturday. And I think that this is probably even more worthy of lister than the Historical Society and their own fundraising events that we, this is a free eye screening to young children that the Lions is providing. It's the Camden, South Thomaston, Rockland. And they are not touching the kids in any ways, no drops. They have a camera. It can diagnose up to 6 different things, that vision problems that could be effectively treated if caught early. And there's no cost to the participants. And I just think any venue we can use to get the word out that this is happening.
so is this coming Saturday?
Yeah, I'm gonna put the swinging sign out, but I really think this is this is an event at the library. I think it is worthy of being on the list, even though it's.
Did you
online.
contact, Cash Point School?
Sure, I would assume the Lions.
We have contacted actually, but there's an issue. We have to get first superintendent approval and then the principal's approval for it. So, and so far that has not happened this year. We've had a couple of people trying to work it. It hasn't happened,
Do you want to give me the stuff? I'll see if I can.
but to let them know that we're doing this here. I think.
I mean, has it gone to the superintendent and he just hasn't done anything yet?
I'm not sure, because I'm not a person working on that, but
I can't imagine that he wouldn't approve it.
I can't imagine.
Why is, I'm missing something. Why is the school involved?
Well, I was just,
Kids.
because it's young children that they're doing, and you could get it home to the families through the school. That it's a,
Oh, you mean, so
Something
school's not involved, you're just
just.
using them
as
for
a conduit to get
notification.
it,
Okay,
right,
yeah.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's different.
Cause you just said that the contact asked my school and I just kind of lost with it.
Yeah.
Well,
And that's what now has the preschool.
Right.
yeah, I would think what she did, because that is normally where the Lions Clubs do these, is in the school. And Camden has been doing it in their schools for quite a while. And we just haven't broken the code on how to get into our schools to do it. But yeah, Penny's probably got the information.
Yeah, if you have all the information, give it to me and I will, I'll either call them or email them tomorrow.
But jumping back to Penny's question, this is not an issue that I have opposed to, because this is something coming from the library. There's a town department.
That was my bias.
An event.
Right.
Well, it's also like a public service announcement.
Exactly,
it's
but it's
not-
something that the library and community center is sponsoring
Right.
as a public
Right.
event. It's not, to me, there's a world of difference.
What was the age group?
They just been young children. I
Yeah.
don't think they'll turn anybody away.
Okay,
No, I think the machine is actually rated up to 59 years old. So,
oh,
but
okay,
technically, they're looking for kids. So, but they can do, they can
but
do pre-K.
elementary probably.
Ideally elementary, because usually by the time they get to middle school and high school, they've had some kind of contact with the.
There's been screening in the
Because
school.
usually what will happen, it will go to the superintendent, he'll say yes or no. If he says yes, then his secretary sends it out to all the other ones in the buildings and say, it's okay for you to post this. And it's usually pretty quick.
Penny, will you write up a little blurb and I'll put it out?
I will, I'm gonna send you something that includes, we're having one last community lawn sale. I would want to put something about the radon, air quality testing.
Yeah, actually, I would, to the contrary to what I said earlier about Linda's request, I would encourage more on the listserv from. I know it's work to get it and someone's got to write it and, but.
Thank you, that was.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Okay, that is what we're gonna.
And just to ride the same horse I rode at town meetings, chastise you a little bit, if you let us know these things. Last week, it'd be written on the agendas.
Well, good. I was just going to send it to Terry, but she suggested that I come before the board because there's been some issue about things going to listserv that might not necessarily be.
Good excuse. All right, I think I'd like to hold the discussion of employees evaluation process till after we do consider the abatements for the Smith property. 3 times 3, right? And then a separate one for the Hart property. And the Smith properties are all because we have purchased the lands, and so now we have to abate the part that would have been the town's share,
Prorated
prorated,
based on the day of closure, from April 1st to the day of closure.
which I think was the 14th.
So I'll make a motion that we abate. No parcel numbers on here?
Map and
Oh,
law.
yeah, okay. I make a motion that we abate to, Jeffrey Smith. Map 009-006. An amount of $1,899.87. And to Jeffrey Smith, they're all different. 008-005, $342.13. And there's no map and lot on that.
There's map 8 lot 005, map 13 lot 006, and map 9 lot 006.
Okay, so the one that's missing is the first one you said.
Map 8 lot 6.
I'm just gonna write that in. Okay. To map, 08-06 or lot 06, $125.99.
I'll second that.
Okay, any further discussion?
And just so everyone knows that there's no cash payout here, it was already taken care of at closing.
Yeah.
All this does is get it off the book, so he doesn't get, lien notices and, right. So,
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so this one is because the Harts locked in their tax rate with a tax stabilization program based on their previous address, and now they've moved into a larger address, a larger property. And the rules of the tax stabilization program is that their rates are still frozen at the smaller house. And we missed this when we went through and taxed them, so they got taxed at the full amount and should have been taxed at the rate stabilization rate. So I would entertain a motion for lot 14-98.
I'll make a motion. When I first saw this, I thought those numbers were reversed.
I know.
Terry explained to me that no, their previous taxes were $1,896. And their new taxes would be $8,005.77. So they are entitled to an abatement of $6,109.76. While I don't think we have any choice but to approve this, I think this points out one of the giant flaws in that program that thankfully is going away.
I was just gonna say the same thing. You can see why that program was not going to work.
So I'll make a motion, and of course, it's not their fault. I mean,
No.
I'll make a motion that we abate to Stephen and Linda Hart for map 014-098, the amount of $6,109.76. And there goes our overlay. No, I'm
Look at
kidding.
that.
I'm only kidding.
But because we should still recoup that.
Oh, that's right, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Right.
right.
You get it from the state.
You're right.
So the state has,
And we have that form now,
and we have the form, and it's not due until
November 1st.
So this got captured.
Yeah. Right.
We'll-
It will, yeah. It's not in the, it will,
Because one form had to go in earlier, right? And this wasn't on that, right?
right. But it will be on the new form.
They'll find a way to.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah,
You're too late.
yeah.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Passes. Okay. Discussion on the ordinance changes.
Yeah, can we deal with that little issue with the state first?
Oh, you want to do DMRs?
Yeah, in fact, well, because I think we can go quickly and I'm afraid we'll have to forget it.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
I just, if that's okay with you.
yes, yeah, absolutely.
All right, because I also, I'm opposed to changing our rules for them. Put it bluntly, I mean, I don't see why we should be held responsible if they hold a meeting here. And then someone gets injured as a result of their negligence. That they won't defend us and hold us harmless.
I agree with
I
you.
say they need to find another room.
I agree.
Which brings me to another point. When people are using rooms at the Guilford Butler, are you using a similar form to,
No, but we don't take money for,
but is this just for money when we do this?
Liability.
I think it's something we probably should look into.
A
Maybe talk to our
liability waiver.
insurance or-
the way I read the form is that you're charging money.
Right, but I'm just wondering if you have an outside group come in, if they should have some little form that they sign off on or something. I think it's something, doesn't have to be a big deal, but I think it's something maybe we should check with our insurance. It didn't even enter my head until I saw.
Well, I wrote down a bunch of the groups that are using my room. So does that include a book club?
I think it would be, include any other organized entity, not things that you sponsor, not like,
I have Owl's Head Book Club, I have Owl's Head Library Board, I've got PEO and nonprofit, I've got Knox County Climate Resilience.
yeah.
I've got 2 HOAs, I've got yoga, 2 yoga classes, a ballet. And
Yeah, but
Tai
those
Chi.
you're doing, like the yoga, those are your,
No, I'm providing the venue, but that's because they wanted to come in and do it.
yeah, okay, well, I'm thinking more if outside groups use it.
Okay,
Formal groups, but anyways, I don't even want to get into
Right.
debating it tonight, I just think it's something that maybe you should check with our insurance company,
Yeah.
because we never had a building like this before where we had a lot of groups coming in. Which is a good thing, I'm not saying that, but it's just,
well, I just don't know who.
Right.
Well,
who
that's
would
right.
Sign it.
I think we
Yeah.
need to sort that out, is all I'm saying.
Yeah.
And maybe if there's no fee, it's not an issue.
I think it is still an issue.
No, I don't know.
I think if somebody is on your property using it with your permission, and they don't sign some kind of a waiver that indemnifies you from their negligence, and I think the key word is negligence. Because otherwise, the Tort Claims Act exempts them and us, but once it crosses to negligence, then they become suable, could be actionable. And I think anybody would want, anybody who would come in that isn't part of the town, you would want some certificate of insurance.
And we're not talking about individuals who come in to take out a library. We're
No,
talking
no.
about organizations.
Talking about organizations.
Yeah, right.
that come in. Yeah.
But what if you have like an individual? It's not really an organization, it's just somebody volunteering to teach a class.
Yeah, that,
They don't really carry liability insurance.
right. Right, and I don't think it would apply to that type of
Okay.
situation. 'Cause to me, that's an event being sponsored by the town. It's a volunteer being held in that town building,
Yeah,
But
they're
that's
on a
different.
volunteer list, right?
but that's different than, say, I don't know, the Maine State Board of Realtors want to come in and have
Right.
a luncheon there.
Right.
You know, so. But anyway, I think it's just something worth checking, that's all I'm saying at this point. Not trying to complicate Terry's or Penny's life,
Well, it certainly does,
it could,
because it doesn't apply to the monthly meetings, or does it only apply to the Kate, you know?
yeah. Well, you probably can get something that would cover a year or something, you know what I mean, but might not need anything, but,
Yeah, I just checked with MMA legal, thing.
or the insurance too.
Yeah, and yeah, they can tell you what the best practices are.
I'm sure it's happened all over.
It does.
Allison has their building that people use.
They do,
I think they charge most of them to use it though.
yeah.
And then I was wondering, so what about the family that has a birthday party on the playground? Do you have anything to do with that? But I may cover it by our insurance. because-
Well, it's a public
Yeah,
playground, so that, yeah, our insurance.
that's a whole different category, because they would be sort of,
Yeah, recreational
Yes,
use,
that's
there's, there's two different portions of.
like
Tort Claims Act.
somebody using the tennis courts.
Right,
Yeah, they. I think our insurance would cover that, but if it. But anyway,
yeah, I mean, there's one portion of Tort Claims Act says you cannot sue for anything that happens to you while you're recreating on public or non-restricted land. The other is that we're a town, and so we're limited to 400,000. That's the max that anybody.
what the amount of insurance.
Or your amount of insurance, that's
Whichever
right,
side.
that's right.
So if they're recreating inside instead of outside, does that change the rule?
I don't think so. I think recreate, what we're talking about here is an organization that comes in and says, I want to use your facility.
Mhm.
For example, Rock City Coffee. They should have provided you with a certificate of insurance that shows that you are an also insured.
But anyway, all I'm suggesting is we check it out.
We will check in.
Okay. So let's, the ordinance changes. go back to that.
So we need to take action on the other.
Well, yeah. I think we just need to tell them that, we disagree that it waives their rights because it talks about negligence. And that's not covered under their community. But we're not willing to change it, so if they don't like that, goes. And I would accept that as a form of motion.
Come on.
Seconded.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Okay, speaking of legal stuff, so
Sorry.
that's all right. So you saw the stuff that went back and forth on our last planning board meeting with the ordinance review committee and with Kristen. She is going to draft the changes. She was very happy that we have designated, we have a designated growth area, because now she can limit affordable housing rules to the village extension areas. Basically,
Real.
yes, so, and it makes, she says she's doing these all over the state, actually. And the towns that don't have it in their comp plan or in their ordinance, that they have a designated extension area, or a designated area, are having to then apply it to the whole town. But because we have in our comp plan and have now put it in our ordinance, we can restrict it to just those areas. So just wanted to make sure that that's what we want to do.
Well, that's kind of gets us away from the issue I think somewhat from just people doing this and then renting them out as.
It doesn't. And
Well,
two
because
reasons.
the most attractive areas for that are not gonna be in these village extensions, so is what I'm saying.
Right.
It's not Spruce Head Island or.
Where are the?
They're
Right.
in the pink. It's right here where we are
Okay,
right now. And it's this whole area on Westbrook.
Oh, that nice piece of property the town owns up
Now,
there.
nice piece of property the town owns.
That you can't get to because of the big ditch.
But now you can have much smaller.
Yeah.
You can have a half acre lot and put 3 or 4 buildings on it. That's not really true. So
You still have to get, correct me if I'm wrong, you still have to be able to get septic. It doesn't waive the septic requirement.
right,
Okay.
and potable water.
and they have to verify potable water access to the satisfaction of the CEO, by the way, who has to, for every one of these, has to give a certificate of occupancy that says they have everything that they're required to do. And just so everybody knows who doesn't think they're gonna jump out there right now and start building these little houses, you have to put in the deed restrictions that it is for affordable housing, which means it limits how much you can charge. Also limits whether or not it's short term or long term.
Who defines that?
We define short
Affordable
term.
housing?
No, they've defined affordable housing, and they've defined the amounts and you have to derive it though from statistical stuff that Kristen is gonna do.
So the state has decided what the affordable housing amount would be.
Yes, it is 30% of 80% of the something level, what is the
Poverty level?
poverty level? Yeah, 30% of the 80% of the poverty level for rentals.
Yeah.
And it's 30% of 120% for houses that you sell. They get mortgages. Which is
So
still.
it may not be as profitable as.
And that's the other thing, in Knox County, the rental is probably still $1,200. Which is really unfair. So what she's drafting right now is then defining what we call long-term. I mean, we can say you cannot do affordable housing for less than 3 months. I think that's where she's leaning right now. I think that's what she said is 90 days. Or you can do 6 months, so a rental has to be for something more than 6 months. So it's designed for long-term affordable.
Yeah, I think 3 months is too short.
I do too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be the whole summer.
Summer rental,
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That opens it up to them.
But again, back to my original point, don't you think that because it's only allowed in those 2 areas, that's gonna, it's not like along Waterman's Beach, or it's not along 131,
But
doesn't that?
there's another portion of this law that is not affordable housing. It's the thing they call accessory dwelling units. We have a caveat in ours that already permits a second, what they call accessory dwelling unit. A second dwelling unit on our properties, as long as it meets the sewage thing, 40 square feet.
It's already in our current ordinance.
It's in our current, but it's not done right.
Is it in every zone?
And that applies to all zones. And not only does it apply in all zones, we say you can put 1 addition. They say up to three. But the way she is wording that, that's only gonna be 2. Because you can have 1 that is in an existing building and a second one that is in a different building.
Okay.
And there will be size restrictions on those, so it can only take up 190 square feet in a building, and I don't remember if it's in a building, so mother-in-law area. That's just a proposal. We can change those.
They can do this anywhere.
They can do this anywhere.
Including the shoreline zone?
Shoreline zone's more difficult because instead of 40,000 square feet for the sewage, you need 20,000 square feet for each dwelling. Or is it? No, that's
So that's backwards.
That's back.
Instead of 20, you need 40.
Yes, you
Yeah,
need,
40.
40
you need 40. Yeah, you need 40 in the shoreline. and
20 is an acre.
Right, yeah.
So you need an acre for each.
Yes, it's really hard in the shore, so it really doesn't apply to shoreline zone. You can't put multiple dwellings on a minimum size lot. But
So you'd have to have more than an acre of land to put an accessory dwelling in the shore.
in the shoreline zone,
Sounds like you need 2 acres.
except they now have sewage. Engineered sewage things that can go down to 12,000 square feet.
So if you have the money.
Yeah, if you have the money and the engineering that is but they have certified it. So now, because these accessory dwelling units have special rules that are associated with them, you have to prove potable water, you have to do all these other things that go along with it. It now brings that into play because there's no rules on whether that's short-term, long-term. It's not affordable housing. It's just housing.
So it could be.
Airbnb, yeah.
Airbnb.
Yeah,
So her current proposal right now is to take all short-term rentals, all rental properties, any rentals, and require them to be registered in the town. No permits unless they're commercial. And she has a definition. for
yeah, what makes it commercial?
in her mind is if it's a company that doesn't own or that owns the property. Or manages the property, but doesn't live on the property,
Okay.
then it's commercial. And also I think she said if it's more than 2 dwelling units. On one property, then that would be commercial. But in all the other, and then it would have to go to the commercial planning board, all the rest of them go to CO, none of this
Is it,
goes to the planning board, goes to
is
CO.
it commercial if they use, I can't think of the name of it, but one of those companies that manages properties, rental properties for a bunch of people? Is that commercial? No.
As long as it's their property,
It's owned by the one person, just
Right.
this company rents it for them.
right?
But they don't live there.
They don't, right, they don't live there.
I'll have to read, she sent me one that she had done for another town. I'll have to read how that one reads.
Because some people will live in the house for like a month
Yeah,
Like 1 month.
and then they rent it the rest
Oh,
of
the
it
rest of the
through one of
time.
these companies.
Yeah.
And they rent them year round.
Well, we have several people around town that move out of their.
yeah.
Main house in the summer and rent their main house and live in a little. About,
Or a boat or,
yeah,
or on an island.
or about, you know,
I know one family that moved, the whole family moves in the summer, lives on an island and they rent their house.
yeah,
So
this is gonna be.
Those are some of the
difficult.
gray areas that we're currently wrestling with.
You're gonna need more help.
But the main one is short-term versus long-term on affordable housing. And I think I lean towards the 6 months.
I definitely do.
I might even leave longer, but. But,
I mean, you know,
But
but
certainly
affordable
there's-
housing, you'd like them to be able to stay there for a while, but.
Yeah. Yeah, and once it's designated as affordable housing, because what you're doing is you're allowing more density. So it's a 30-year deed restriction that it has to be affordable.
so has the ordinance review committee met and
Yeah.
discussed it?
Yeah, the ordinance review
whole
committee
committee.
met with the planning board
Yeah,
twice now.
now who's on, just refresh my memory. You?
Gabe and I,
Huh?
Gabe and I, and Gabe is on the
I
planning.
thought John Snow was on.
I can't get a hold of John Snow. He told me a long time ago he was backing off of it, and I've been trying to get a hold of him.
Because he's technically on it, right?
I'm
Pretty sure he is. He was
I don't know
listed in the
yet.
town report.
Yeah, I
The
don't.
only information I've seen was. My neighbor down the road,
Yeah,
can't remember his name.
Maybe they
No,
figure if they just
no,
don't show up, they resign.
Hmm?
And Novell.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
No, John told me he was not gonna do it anymore, but it
but he
almost
hasn't
became,
resigned.
yeah, but it's a move because I don't have an email address for him, phone number, and none of them that Terry has are all the same as the ones I have, which don't go to. You have, yeah. Send me some, just so I can poke you.
Well, he really should resign if he's not gonna
Yeah,
do it. I mean.
okay, so the main question that she wanted me to bring back to her is what we consider long-term, short-term, and I'm gonna tell them people. But,
Yeah, I guess
what this
it-
does, this, both of these actually, because it is conceivable that somebody could. The only way to police this
Have a full-time code enforcement officer.
is, yeah, and the only way to give her any kind of a tool to be able to do that is to know what is out there for short-term rentals. And so that she can,
And how do you get people to comply with that?
well, I mean,
You have to chase them down and look them up on Airbnb and
That's-
VRBO. That's what Rockland does that.
Yeah.
Mhm. To find out people that, because I think you have to have a permit in Rockland to have one,
yeah, you do.
They have limited.
and they have limited number.
And Kirsten was, matter of fact, when I said, do we do permits for it? And she says, I don't want to do permits for them, I just want to register. So just a registration, so there's no fee associated with it, there's no, and part of the discussion was, my fear is that since we have to do a certificate of occupancy for these affordable housing units,
And just the affordable.
just the affordable ones. If we're going to do that, is that going to more, or will the assumption be that when she does a certificate of occupancy to ensure that they have potable water, they meet the sewage requirements, and that they are going to continue to do them as affordable housing, that somebody's gonna think that includes electrical, plumbing, rail systems, the railings on all the other life
Fire
safety.
extinguisher, I mean, fire, smoke
Right.
alarms, whatever.
And she said, no, we can write that specifically in there. This is, and she says, we'll do the form. It's not really a certificate of occupancy. It's a certificate of acceptability as a affordable housing, so. But the actual law portion of it and what we have to do to meet that is not as onerous as we originally thought it was gonna be. But all of the things you have to do to be able to, with any kind of a straight face, say that you can do some kind of a enforcement on it. it involves all the other rental properties. Which we currently do nothing. And contrary to what was put in one of the emails, people who are building a house do not need to meet any kind of rail system rules or steps, or our town has not bought into all of those rights. The only exception is if it's
Waste control.
waste
I mean,
disposal
yeah.
and some.
Water.
Yeah, wastewater and some, like, there's some electrical and other plumbing things that are forced by those trades. So an electrician has to put in, and he won't do it if it doesn't meet his codes.
Yeah, but people, I mean, we had a guy, the electrician come in and say that someone was up around the corner, was putting in electric heat, and so people just do it.
Yeah, they do.
So, but now if it's anything that's commercial does require that.
So South Thompson, the town does not have any building code.
No,
And we did not,
no electrical code, no building code.
and
So-
we
We
didn't
do
buy
it
into the
constant
state.
because the state, and really, that's just. It's not an ordinance, it's just we have to enforce the state plumbing.
So if you have a contractor come in and they say you have to have this size windows because of code, or these railings because
They're
of
lying,
code,
yeah,
they're
they're
lying.
lying. That's right.
I know some people have been lied to, but.
But I think a lot of contractors, in honesty, some things that it's, that they say that's code, and they're right in a way.
In some
It is,
places, it's
right.
code, yeah,
It's
It's
not
the
a-
state, it is the state
Yeah.
code that.
but we don't have to adopt state code.
If you're over under 4,000 or 5,000
Sometimes insurance companies
required.
And
require
that is true.
deck railings and deck heights and
Yeah.
things like that.
Yeah. Or
Because
steps in
people
front of,
fall off them,
steps in front of
Yeah.
their doors.
yeah.
I think that guy on the Griffin Road who took this neighbor's steps, put them in front of his, took a picture, sent it to the dress. Because the insurance company was making. What, people are creative. Okay,
Moving on, okay.
I guess so.
Yeah.
So we're gonna get a draft to.
Oh, yes, yes.
And this it has to go to town meeting. And I assume it's kind of like the shoreline zoning ordinance, if you don't enact it, you're in violation, and. I wish they would stop doing stuff.
Oh, me too.
It's like, yeah. You want to approve this or not, and if you don't.
And we're gonna slap you with a fine.
Right.
Well, and you remember, we specifically had one of our state representatives in here tell us
Yeah,
right to our face, sitting right there, that this law would not affect our town. No, you don't have to do it. You're excluded. Okay, any other correspondence that we had missed? Warrants for approval, and
I think we already did that.
they're all signed.
Yeah.
Okay.
just one quick little thing, if you saw all the trucks and stuff out there, they were back fixing.
I saw that.
Yeah, so hopefully that's done right, and. So, if anybody's wondering, it's, nothing to pay.
So they had to dig it back up, huh?
People are wondering,
Wondering,
but I said, didn't we just do
yeah,
that?
Being fixed. Okay, so right now we
yeah,
have.
maybe I'll draft something for the email list.
Right.
Right now we have the 10th tentatively, and the 11th is a backup.
I'm sorry,
October.
yeah, hang on, I just gotta get. I had a conflict, didn't I, or a potential,
Mhm.
Yeah, potential.
sorry, I don't know why this one. Whenever you're in a hurry. Now we'll probably say, do not shut up your computer, backing up. Come on,
Jack, I have a question right here.
Oh,
no, I'm
It's
good,
not my
I'm okay with the 10th, that didn't happen. So I'm good with the 10th. So are we
Okay.
doing? And the 24th we're doing,
And the 24th, yeah,
correct?
you wanna look at November,
I would like to. 7th is election day,
yeah, 14th,
14th and 28th.
that's what I got.
Okay. And maybe we can just do one in December. Or try.
Yeah, that was my 12th. You can go past that. All right. Last chance.
I think you missed discussion on an employee evaluation process.
No, we're about to do that.
Oh, we're gonna do that now, okay.
Now I'd like to go into executive session.
Oh,
Oh, no,
I-
this is, she's talking about the evaluation process.
Oh,
You wanna put that on?
Yeah, let's put that.
Okay,
Yeah.
I just thought, I suggested it to Terry when the agenda was.
No, yeah, but. Let's put it on our next tiny one.
Or just keep doing it and we can keep putting it off.
Right, there you go. All right, so executive session in accordance with, what is it?
Well, review items for next agenda, you're gonna do that after your open session.
No, did you have something?
I'd like to get on the agenda
Okay,
now, so.
okay, put Terry on the agenda.
Penny,
And
I mean, Terry, but Penny.
I don't really have, well, I'd like to put the ATV, I already mentioned that.
Yes.
And that's all I have at this point, but that'll change, I'm sure.
All right, so. How. In accordance with one MRSA paragraph 4056C.
So moved.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Can I get this back in my calendar?
Well, yeah. Thank you.
It's easy for me.